Right. Good morning, everybody. Um, Welcome to this webinar. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Johannika, one of the directors here at FullView, and we eat, sleep, drink Bitrix24. That's what we do. Just to manage some expectations about what this webinar is about, because I like to know what people will be talking about, is just a quick recap on what is Bitrix. Then the main focus for today would be navigating the tasks and just a few tips on how you can use it, different ways that you can create them, different views that you have for your tasks, and then the cool AI that's actually part of the tasks module that you can use to your benefit. And then, yeah, we can have some Q&A. So let's start and just recapture what Bitrix is about. So the idea with Bitrix is it's the glue that keeps your company together. Single space where everybody can work. They know what's expected from them for the day and also for yourself. I always say you can see Bitrix as a policeman, or you can see it as a tool to help you to be more efficient. I like to think of it as the latter. And I have a picture that I like to use to tell people what Bitrix is about. So if you look at the main sections of your business, those might be the main functionalities that you have from my view. And Bitrix is right in the middle. Like we said, the glue that keeps everything together so that you know what you have to do for which reason. And that's where we will get to the tasks to see how that works. So let's go back to Bitrix and then we'll jump straight into the tasks. So I am going to go a little bit from the assumption that you've seen Bitrix before and mainly focus on the tasks. Sorry for the frog in my throat. It's that time of the year, spring, that my body doesn't like. Let me share my screen with you. Right. So in Bitrix, I want us to run through a step-by-step, like if it's your day, where you're starting your day and you need to know, what am I going to tackle first today? Because I don't know about you, if I start with my inbox, then I get a little bit overwhelmed. So even when I start doing that, I remember, okay, you've got a system to use, go back to the tasks and see how are you going to tackle this day. So where do you find tasks in your Bitrix is probably a good place to start. So in Bitrix, I like to call it your Google search, which is right here on top. Any module or menu item or even your CRM items, depending on how many you have in Bitrix, you can use this search. So we're going to use it to search for the tasks module. Don't press enter because then it takes you to your feed. But there I can find tasks and projects. I'll go to tasks. And then I'll have different views in terms of how I can see my task. So we can look at that once we've created a task. So tasks in Bitrix I like to refer to as the 3 W's. So every time we create a task, we'll see what am I doing, for who, and by when. So a very nice way to create tasks that a lot of people don't know about is that you can forward an email to a specific email for your user to create a task. I like to use that if there's a really long email coming from a customer and I need to now have a task for that. You can simply create a task by forwarding the email. So the question is, how do you do that? I'll run you through that step by step that you can know how you can use that feature for yourself. So if you're in your Bitrix and you go to your user profile, top right, and you click on the user itself, there's a tab that says security. If you open the security tab, there's an option that says forwarding addresses. The moment you select that, you've got two options that you can use. The one is to post something to your company feed if you use that in your business, and the other one is to create a task for yourself. So you don't have access to this link for all users, because then it can become a bit of a chaotic part with everybody just forwarding emails and creating tasks. But you can share this email address with some of your team members if you want them to create a task for you. So what I've done is I've copied this specific address. I saved it as a contact on my Bitrix, so I can easily click that and just say forward, and it creates the email. So let's look at an example of that. If I go to my mailbox in Bitrix and I open up this email, for instance, that's the email that I received from the customer, and I can now forward that to my tasks creation email address. So I've saved it here as a Bitrix24. You can see that very long email address, and then I can use that to forward the email. So let's take an email that already has some information in it, and I can say forward, and I pick that one, and I'm gonna send it to that address. So we'll give it a moment and it will pop up on the right saying the task was created. To save time, I'm just going to go to the tasks over here to show you what it looks like. So if I take this, I can now see there's the email that was sent to me. And this is the first part that we actually mentioned we'll look at the end, but where you can actually use there, you saw the ping of the task coming in AI. Because I like using checklists. Sometimes it gets a bit overwhelming for me to read through everything. So now what I can do is I can edit this task, select the text, and then you'll see this purple pop-up. That's your Copilot. That's wherever you see that, it's AI that you can actually use in Bitrix. If I press the space bar, I click on Copilot, and then I can say create a checklist. I'm going to click on that, then it's going to change that text to a way that it becomes a checklist. I can say replace text, and then you'll see it created those 3 checklist items for me. Yes, sometimes you'll need to change something a little bit, but it really helps. So now I've got the checklist of the email that was sent. Okay, so that's the first way that you can create a quick task for yourself. Then there's also quick tasks. So when you're on your tasks module and you use this, so previously it opened up the whole tasks screen for you. Now if it's just a quick thing that you want to put down, not to forget, so I can say do the payroll. It's just a quick description of a task, and I can give myself a deadline. You can either pick these options or pick a specific date. So that's a bad example because it's already overdue. Let's go for the 30th. And that can be as easy as that. I've just created a quick task, like a little sticky note that you've done for yourself to remember something. So that is a quick task. You also have the option on there to go to the full view of your tasks where you see all the information on it. Then you can also create a task from a chat. So I think this is a feature that's very underutilized a lot, and that is the chats in your Bitrix24. It's like having Teams where you can do individual chats, you can do calls for groups or whatever. So I can see this document's been sent to me, and now it has to be actioned. So I can go to my three dots and say more and create the task. Now the same thing will happen. Like with the email, it is already attached to that task. Review documentation, and I can assign it to a specific person to do the job. Give them a deadline. Right, so those are quick ways just to do your tasks. Then let's look at the views of your, oh, before we do that, let's look at what do you capture on a task. Like I said a bit earlier on, it's about what I'm doing for who, when. That's my own way of remembering what a task is. And if you look at the screen, you see it's very similar to having an email, because I can have a description for the task, set up board meeting. So that's my name. And then I can have all the details of what I have to do. So I've just copied and pasted something here for us. Okay, there's a description of what I have to do. So that's the what. Then there's the who. So it's very important to know in your tasks what's the difference between these options that you can select. Responsible person / assignee is who is responsible for this. The buck stops somewhere. If something is assigned to a whole team to do, there's normally a team leader that if management wants to know what's going on, they ask that specific person. That is assignee of a task. So you will now see and maybe ask, okay, but I can have multiple assignees on a task. You can read the pop-up that Bitrix gives you. Say a separate task will be created for each assignee. When would you use that? Remember to book your leave for December. If I do this and I say assignee, all those different persons, each one of them will get a task to book their leave for December. So that's the only time that you'll use multiple assignees. For this example, I'm not going to do that. And then we look at participants and observers. Participant is exactly what the word says. So if I think about an accounting firm, so there's the person that's in charge of the whole audit, and there's clerks or whatever that's busy with the audit and gathering all the information. The team leader is the assignee, and everybody participating in that task will be my participants, because that's the team doing this work. But there's one person that is responsible to say this is who I'm going to. And then there's observers. If there is a manager or a director that needs to know what's going on and what's the progress of this specific task, that's where I would add an observer. So that's the who. Part of the who that you can't really see on this screen now, but you'll see once it's created, is the who created the task. Because you would want to know who created it for you. Maybe you need some clarity, and you can go back to them. So it's not there by default, but you can click that and then it will show it. If you don't change this, it will be the person that opened this and created the task. If you have an assistant maybe that needs to assign tasks to a team based on what's planned, you can change this and create it on behalf of someone else. Very seldom have people using it this way, but you have the option to do that. So that's the who I'm doing it for internally for the team and who's taking part in it. But then there's another who, is that's the customer I'm doing for. So it's not always just customer work. I know sometimes, like the example I used to book your leave, it is an internal thing. It's nothing to do with the customer. But when and wherever you can, link it to a CRM item, either a contact or a company or a specific lead or deal that you are busy with. Because then when you create the task, once we've saved this, you'll see I can click on that link to say, oh, this is the background on what the task is about. So let's select CRM over here and we'll say it is about Adcock Ingram. And then it is the when, the last W. When is this due? This is due on the 5th of September, for instance. If you want, you can set a specific time, else there is a place where you can set a default time. So I'm going to select this now. Okay. There's more options that we'll do a separate session on, and that's on time tracking. So you can also track your time and how long did it take to do this task, how long did you plan to do this task, so you can report on planned versus actual time. But for now, I'm just going to create this task. So I've got the what I'm doing, I've got the who gave it to me, who's doing it, and also the customer that it's for, and then by when. So if I open up this task again, I have that link, which really helps a lot. I need to do the audit. So, okay, I can open up Adcock and then I can see all the information that I need for their audit, whatever information is captured on the company. Else I need to go find it somewhere on an Excel or a document or whatever. So as far as possible, link your CRM item to your task. And here on the right, we can see the people that was assigned to this task. Okay, so that's creating a task and knowing what all the information is about. But then when you start your day, there's different ways that you can look at what's due for me today. What do I have today to plan? So the other day I had so much to do and I was really crazy, and I had sticky notes that I put onto my laptop to say, I need to do this and this and this and this. And as I got frustrated with the sticky notes not sticking, I realized I've got a system to do this. And I just went back and I updated my tasks. So I actually know what I have to do. I'm pretty sure that's happened to you as well, where it's just too much and you don't know what you have to do by when. And that's where you have the different views in your tasks. So first one is your list view. Think about Outlook. You've got the name of the task, the deadline, who's it assigned to, created on the CRM item. But this is your canvas. Not everybody works the same. Not everybody has their columns in their email program, whatever you use, the same in terms of the from and the date received. And you can do the same over here on your tasks. In fact, when you have a list view in Bitrix and you see this little gear, you can apply the same. So I can say, okay, I want to see modified on, and I want to see the CRM item, so I want to see created by, and I want to see created on. So you literally pick the columns that you would want to see. And now you're going to see my view changed. So I've got more information over here, and I can move it around. By literally, I click and I drag, and you set up the order that your brain works in. And if you see this little hand when you hover on top of a column, it means you can sort it. So if I want to sort it by status or alphabetically based on the name, I can literally click on that, or on created by, modified. I'm just going to add my created on again so we can sort by that, and I'll click on it. So these are my tasks that were created today. So you can start with this view and say, this is what I'm tackling, I'm doing now. The other option is you have is your deadline view. This is a very popular view for tasks. So this is a demo system, so there's multiple tasks in different stages. But the ideal would be that you don't have any tasks in this stage, so that nothing's overdue. If it is overdue, then you know I have to tackle this first today to make sure that I'm up to date with all my tasks. And if I had a task for the deadline today, that will be my due today. And then it helps you to plan due next week. So if, like this, I don't have anything due today, I can tackle the rest of the tasks that's due for the week, because I know this is almost like my priorities in terms of what I have time for. And I can also see if there is this task that's, I know it's a humongous task. I can start working on it now, because I know if I can't start on that specific day, then I'm not going to make my deadline. So that's another view that you have in terms of what's due first. And then you've got your planner view. The planner view is your view. Nobody else has this view. It's yours. You organize I like to compare these to sticky notes. You organize them in categories that make sense to you. And I think it's Robert Kiyosaki that had that important and urgent, or whatever, those quadrants. So you can use it for whatever you would want to split it by. I can literally click on the little pencil over there, and then I've sorted it by, these are my finance tasks. I literally click on the task and I'll drag it where I want it. And I'm doing the sorting. Payroll goes to finance, whichever. It doesn't affect your deadlines, it doesn't affect the way that somebody else sees it. This is your own view. So that's the planner view. You also have a calendar view, where I can see my tasks per deadline on a calendar. Right. So if you prefer this view, to start with that, it's your choice. You can click on the task, then and you see the deadline. And the last view is your Gantt view. So that's the manager terminology, where you can see interdependent tasks and deadlines to say what's overdue now, when should it be completed, and you can also move it on the Gantt. So I clicked on that task, and then I've got two things. I've got, when am I supposed to start with this task? When am I supposed to be finished? And I've got a deadline itself. I can move that deadline over there. So for time-wise, so when am I planning? I'm going to start this task. I want to have it done by then, and I have a deadline. So that's the specific thing where you will use your Gantt view to see what's happening. Okay, so then let's look at a bit more AI that we can use, because I always say we need to use the machines to do the things that's repetitive, so we can do the things like what I'm doing now, engaging with your customers. So I showed you how you can use the summarizing of a task and creating your checklists for you, but you also have a bit more. If I click on edit on my task and I go to my Copilot over here, I don't have to highlight it. I can do that if I want to create the checklist. I can go into Copilot, and then there's a lot of items here you can pick. If it's a heck of a long description in terms of what has to be done, you can ask it to simplify it for you and then create the checklist from that, or explain the text. I sometimes use that. I'm not sure what they're asking, especially if it's from the dev team with all those acronyms of APIs and whatever you get, then you can use it to explain it to you. It's like having ChatGPT in, or whatever you use, Grok or whatever, in your Bitrix. So you don't have to go to different places. And you use that to make your life easier. Okay, so I can do this, and then it will explain the text for me in a different way. The rest at the bottom is the same. Then a very nice feature, I can't demo that to you now because I'm actually on a call, is you've got this little dictator that you can use. If I click on this, you can narrate. So you can say, we need to do an audit for company ABC. We need to remember to do this and this and this. And you talk to Copilot. It will transcribe that whole conversation. And then from that, you can check again, highlight it, and create a checklist. So please go play around with this afterwards. Create a task and just tell it what you would want it to do. And you'll see the magic of it creating the task for you. Then next we can look at the planning features, just to say when am I doing my task, and then I want to open up the floor. You can put your questions in the chat about specific features for tasks, especially if you want to follow up on those features. So if I click on edit here for my task, we will see there's a time planning option. So remember when we looked at the Gantt chart, I mentioned that there's a start and an end date. That's what I populate over here. So it's not very obvious. It's not there by default. You need to click on the time planning option, and then I can plan my workload, especially if you have a team where you need to balance who's doing what. So you don't have 6 tasks on one day that's impossible to accomplish. I'll pick, I need to start this on the 2nd. That's when I'm planning to do it. And I want to end it on the 30th. Let's do that. It will automatically calculate the amount of days that I have. Or you can do the reverse and say, okay, I'm going to have 10 days to do this. Then it will pick the end date for me automatically. So use that to plan your workload, and especially if you have a team that you are assigning tasks to. Then there's the way where you can plan your day. That's actually the other way to look at your tasks. So yes, you will create them first here on your tasks module. These are all the tasks that I have to do. You can use your deadline or your planner view, or if you go to the clock in, clock out feature on your Bitrix, you can create a little checklist there for all your tasks for today. So if I go to my clock in icon, it used to be here in the middle. So if you wonder where it went, it's there top right. And I click on my clock in, you'll see this. It says today's tasks. So I'll know this is what I've planned for today, irrespectively of the deadline. I can open up my task and say, I've done that, and I've finished my task. And then it won't be something for me to do for today. If I just refresh my screen over here, it will show me that that task is completed now. So there's a repeat of it. So I said, I've done, it's completed. But now I want to add more because I can see my day. Okay, I've got capacity this morning for 2 tasks, and I've got capacity this afternoon for more. You can select them over here and build your little list for today. Okay, I click on select and I can search for specific tasks. I need to do that one as part of today. Or you haven't created it with all the details, you can very quickly do this and say set up meeting with accounts, and I create the task over here. You can see there the task was created. The only responsible person will be me, the created by will be me, but now I can open up the task and then add the rest of the information. So let's recap quickly about what we looked at. So I've got my different ways of creating a task. I can be on the create quick task. I can send myself an email. I can go to a chat and create a chat from there if there's a whole project discussion that happened over there. And then for your checklists, you can highlight the text. You can use AI to create that for you, or you do it manually. You don't have to use AI. As maybe you're thinking through the process, you can add those checklist items one by one. You can use the AI to narrate, to tell it like you have your own personal, you have your PA to make notes and tell you what to do. Your views, you've got your list view, that's like email. You've got your deadline view, exactly what the word says. You've got your planner view, which is your view. You organize your tasks in a way that works for you. You've got your calendar view, and then lastly, your Gantt view. That's a typical project management view that shows you when are we starting, when are we ending, so I can balance the load of what I have to do where. So that's really a high level of tasks of how you can create it and how you can use it. You're welcome to use the chat to pop me a question if there's something specific that you want to focus on. Yes, there will be a recording. I suggested answer you, so we will share the recording for this webinar. Right. If we don't have any specific tasks, you guys have our email address. If there's a specific module or item in Bitrix that you would want some more training on, please pop us a mail and we can do that for you guys. It will always be recorded and you can get it on our YouTube channel afterwards. That's me signing off for today about tasks. Thank you very much for joining and have a blessed day.